Manchester United have another important game this weekend in the Premier League, of course up against Brighton, a team that has caused us some problems over the past few seasons. It hasn't always been a happy fixture for us. However, this year it is important that United get it right. Ten Hag needs a positive result. Having some momentum and some form at the start of the season could be absolutely crucial to having a more positive campaign this time round. So, how could Manchester United beat Brighton? Well, it's all about the press. So last weekend up against Fulham, Manchester United had a fairly inconsistent press. However, the intentions were clearly there. No team completed more high turnovers in the Premier League last weekend than United against Fulham. And that kind of shows us the approach that Ten Hag wants to use. It may not always be perfect, but he is committed to his team trying to win the ball back high up the pitch. And that will be key against this Brighton side. See, we know that Brighton are a side that like to play the ball out from the back. They have been one of the more attractive teams in the Premier League over the past few seasons, and early on in the season that doesn't look like changing. They do still want to play out from the back, starting off with the goalkeeper and moving through the phases. And to do this, they will often use a 2-4 shape, or certainly they did last week against Everton. Now in this shape, the idea for Brighton is to overload the first phase, move the ball forward, and then essentially create quick attacking situations. So Manchester United need to try and stop this. And Everton may have already laid out the blueprint for us to do this. So if we look at this Everton team, we can see their pressing structure looks something like this. It looks fairly like a 4-4-2. Of course, it's slightly staggered, but you can see this is a 4-4-2 pressing approach. And what they are trying to do is match up Brighton man-to-man to eventually force Brighton to play one side of the pitch, to then trap Brighton over this side, allowing Everton to eventually win the ball back. This is a decent blueprint for Manchester United to try and follow. Now the reason this could work for United is because of the blueprint that we saw used to decent effect last weekend, and that is this sort of 4-4-2 pressing shape, which eventually turns into a bit more of a 4-2-4, with Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount as our front two. Now the good thing about Bruno and Mason Mount as our front two is that they are playing a striker role, but they are actually naturally midfielders. Now what that means is that they are used to playing in a high pressing system, but not necessarily always applying pressure all the way up to the centre backs. But that could actually be perfect. You see, Brighton, like we've seen already, want to play the ball out from the back. United's job is to try and stop that, but they can have it initially. You know, when trying to high press and win the ball back high up the pitch, it doesn't mean you constantly have to press. It doesn't mean you have to run around like headless chickens. You can use a structure. You can time your movements and your moments of when you are going to apply pressure. And that is exactly what United should look to do in this game. Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, if that is to be the front two, should look to try and cut passes off into the middle of the pitch to Weaver and to James Milner. This should be the game plan for Manchester United, making it compact in the middle of the pitch. So you'll see Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo as a box shape around the Brighton midfielders without necessarily actually being touch tight marking them. Now the reason that United could look to do this is because eventually it then allows us to spring into a more aggressive pressing structure where we can suddenly turn the ball over. For example, if we see a negative pass. This is the exact approach United looked to use in pre-season and it worked pretty well, and it's clearly an idea that Erik Ten Hag likes. This 2 and then a 4 shape. Some people are describing it as a hexagon as well, which I completely understand due to the nature of the shape. But the idea here is, clearly in this game, our front two, on this occasion Mason Mount and Rasmus Højlund, trying to block passes into the two Arsenal midfielders here and here. That is the plan here. Our two highest players, yes, they are engaged in the high press, but they are not after the centre-backs. We are creating this box in the middle of the pitch to stop Arsenal progressing the ball through the centre. Why do you want to stop a team progressing the ball through the centre? Well, because naturally it's the most dangerous area of the pitch. If you can protect the centre, you're going to do a pretty good job of protecting your goal. So that is ultimately the plan here, to protect the middle. This sort of pressing shape does that pretty well. It stops these Arsenal midfielders getting on the ball in deep areas and influencing the game. Now what we are essentially waiting for in this shape is a negative touch from one of the opposition players. A touch which suggests they're going to go backwards. This is our trigger to then press, and you can see it from Højlund on this occasion here. Squeezing high, curving his run to apply pressure. This is where Manchester United can now be dangerous. The run is continued from Højlund, this curved run, forcing the goalkeeper to play one way. Now, Arsenal, on this occasion, of course, take that cue. They force the ball one way, and now Manchester United can lock the pitch off and play in a man-to-man fashion. This is where United looks stronger than ever this season, when the game is forced into mini rondo situations. Particularly, let's say we put Casemiro this side, particularly down this side of the pitch. So the idea is the opposition have the ball here, and initially we are sitting off, we are blocking passes into midfield, we're keeping it nice and compact. Brighton then play that backwards pass. This is our cue to force them to play to this side of the pitch. We're trying to force them over here. Now, of course, Mason Mount is going to become a part of this pressing structure now, and Mason Mount is a brilliant presser of the ball. He is excellent in these situations. But actually, the important thing here is the ability to essentially split the game up into mini football matches. You can see we've now got a 4 versus 4 situation on this side of the pitch. And with Ahmad, we've got a good defensive player there. We've got Mason Mount, who is good with his intensity. Mazraoui is a good defender. And Casemiro against Weaver could be a really interesting battle. And I would actually back Casemiro to come out on top of that battle in these deeper situations. This is where United can then be incredibly dangerous. Because we know what this United side is all about. It's been about this for many, many seasons now. Can we win the ball back? And then can we attack quickly? Particularly with some sort of switch, with some sort of run in behind from our wingers. We're looking at Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side. If we can win the ball down this right-hand side of the pitch, it could be Ahmad coming inside, or it could be Casemiro playing a sweeping pass to Rashford on the other side of the pitch. United can now be really dangerous. We can, of course, also go into the middle, into someone like Mason Mount, into someone like Bruno Fernandes. This, for me, is the key to stopping this Brighton side. But not only, stopping Brighton from playing to their strengths, but actually allowing United to do what they do best, and that is attack quickly. You see, I don't necessarily think that Ten Hag is a manager that always wants 60-65% of the possession. I don't think he is that sort of manager. I think he does like that quick attacking approach, and I think we will see it in this game. It's going to be a really interesting battle. I do believe this game will be played at a great pace, at a great intensity. Both teams are going to be heavily focusing on getting their high press right. This is where United need to be strong. If United can get the high press right in this game, win the ball high up the pitch, and then force the turnover, attack in the final third, get Rashford on the ball, it could be Garnacho, it could be Ahmad, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, perhaps Xerxes, maybe later in the game. Manchester United has some serious options to quickly hurt this Brighton team, and this is the best way to do it. Don't let Brighton move the ball high up the pitch, because when they do, they're dangerous, they're exciting to watch, and they have a lot of really threatening players. But if we can force them to play the game in their own half, win the ball there, and attack, Manchester United have every opportunity to win this game. And like I said right at the start, I do think that is important for us. We do need some momentum for this team, and we could see it in this game. We could really kind of pick up a bit of a winning streak here to take into the Liverpool game next week. So in my opinion, Manchester United need to get their high press right. That means you play someone like Mason Mount. It means you play someone like Ahmad, and perhaps De Ligt at the back as well for that aggressive defensive approach. If Ten Hag does these things, if the pressing structure works, United could really have some success and have a positive day. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.